Hey everyone, I'm Elliot. Welcome back to another episode of reading a book in every subgenre of every genre. If this is your first time here, the idea is pretty simple. I want to read more books, and I'm using genres to direct myself towards books that I otherwise might not pick up. So I've been reading a lot of fantasy and sci-fi books for a while now, and I need a break. I honestly do. I feel myself going a little crazy. So today I'm going to break it up a bit. And the genre we're going to be exploring this time around is psychological fiction. And the book representing that is Normal People by Sally Rooney. Normal People, you might have heard of it. It was a very popular book like 3 years ago. I think I know why. People love stories about normal people. That's so obvious. So obvious. Before we get started on the contents of the book, let's talk about psychological fiction. What is it? Well, psychological fiction explores the mental state of a character's inner person, usually done through stream of consciousness or flashbacks. A good psychological fiction proves to me that you don't need a complex plot to tell an engaging story because the complexity of the human mind is inherently interesting. Just think about like having coffee with your friend and just talking about the mundane stuff. It's still engaging. So this book is called Normal People, which is pretty vague, right? But what it's actually about is about friends with benefits. You know, one of those titleless relationships that young people get into. But the theme of the story is about making decisions. You know, what type of person do we want to be? What school do we want to go to? What relationships do we want to have? And it asks this question: can a person live two separate lives, you know, without compromising or having the two worlds collide? So while this book goes internal, it also goes external and talks about how the people around us influence our decisions. But whatever decision you make, you always have to live with yourself. You can't escape it, even if you choose to move to another city or whatever. It reminds me of this quote: wherever you go, there you are. And I find it kind of relatable, the unresolved drama aspect of it, because I've had relationships before where I was very close to these group of people or this person, and then we're not anymore. Rather, I graduated, I quit the school, or I quit the job or something, and I don't see them anymore, and we don't get to hang out. And if we did have anything unresolved, it's just gonna, that's just the way it is, to be continued, right? Like if I knew these characters in real life, I would roll my eyes at them because for some reason, they really care about each other's sex lives. Like even the secondary characters, they're kind of nosy about it. Even though I don't really like these characters, I appreciate how they're constructed. Marianne, for example, and how she lives outside of the popularity ladder. And she could, you know, she's not really influenced by what other people think. And she could view everything objectively. Connell, on the other hand, I think that's how you say his name, Connell. He clearly has something to lose, and he has this commitment issues, so he's bracing for every decision that he has to make, and in doing so he becomes destructive to himself and other people around him. I also like the idea of being rich adjacent and how that could influence your decisions, because being closely related to a rich person has a lot of perks, right? They can find you a job, or you'll be invited to surprise parties. What you have to do is just nourish this relationship, not screw it up too bad. And that's what Connell is going through right now as well. One of my favorite parts in the book so far is a conversation between the characters where they're talking about how men control the whole societal system, and this is the best that they could come up with. They're not even having any fun. If it was a matriarchy, they will be having more fun. This book is very well paced. The flashbacks that are interlaced is done very skillfully, and Sally Rooney uses a very effective writing technique, which is this: whatever the characters take for granted, take it away from them. And that just creates so much tension for the rest of the story. Anyways, like I mentioned, I'm halfway through this book. I'm gonna keep reading it, and I'll be back very shortly to give you my final thoughts, and that's happening right now. All right, we are back, and I just finished reading Normal People by Sally Rooney, and here are my thoughts. I think this book is really good empathy practice. I'm not good at empathy. I'm not empathetic. So what this book does is it helps me get inside of the brains of people who I think in normal life I would find rather annoying. So while reading the second half, I felt like we needed this story from Jamie and Helen's perspective, because at times I found myself empathizing with them a little bit more, Maybe because I too am not used to dealing with moody and potentially depressed people. So when Connell was defending Marianne against Helen's criticism, I kind of related to that because it was like he was defending himself, because they're so interconnected. And I've been in situations where I had to defend a friend just because I was with that friend doing that thing, and it was like, to not defend him would be to not defend myself. But in the end, Marianne's family sucks. So I think this book is a good reminder of that whenever you meet someone you dislike, it's most certainly their family's fault that made them this way. So I try not to blame them, and I try to blame their family. It's like, I'm sorry, you had an unfortunate family situation that made you into this person that you are now. I'm very sorry. So empathy, that's how it works. Which led me to think about this. When someone mistreats us, family, partners, bosses, do we ever deserve it? Is it ever okay for someone to mistreat us? And if so, where do we draw that line? Look, I'm not Connell, I'm not Marianne, I'm not depressed, but it's a good reminder that there's people out there who are living troubled lives that we wouldn't even be able to understand even if they told us. And reading a book like this is the closest thing that we can get. This book has so many just these little nuggets of truth that like anybody who's going through their 20s can totally understand, such as like reflecting on picking friends in high school and how that is all just done through circumstances. And rarely do you and your high school friends have this deep-seated similarity. Like, for example, Connell didn't have any political view similarities with any of his high school friends. Another one is like picking sides during a breakup, and how you should always keep your circle of friends kind of tight when you're in a relationship so you don't have your girlfriend or boyfriend stealing your friends from you. There's also this part in the story where Connell's traveling and he's corresponding with Marianne through email, and that's just something every relationship can relate to, because there's always this phase where email just seems to be the most efficient way to communicate with someone you love. You just have so much to say that a simple text message won't do. It's just like, okay, I don't have time to communicate with you all day, but let me just sum up my entire week, day, month in an email. So the second half of this book does get a lot darker. One part that stuck out with me is when they talk about writing on the Facebook page of a dead person, like writing "I miss you" or something like that, and as a way to show grief, but how meaningless that is, because all life is pointless. So it's this like meaningless thing for this pointless thing. Yeah, that hit me a little. So another character I want to talk about is Lucas, who we are made to feel as though his artistic expression is wrong. Marianne, disenchanted by him, says that everything you do is an effect, which makes it feel as though what he's creating is artificial and pointless, thus making it so much worse when he hurts Marianne to make his meaningless art. Finally, I want to leave with this, and that's the contrast of the two characters when they received the scholarship. For Marianne, it was just a confirmation of what she already knew. But for Connell, the money was life-changing. He could go travel, he could live rent-free. And that leads to the idea that the privilege of education and how the rich will always have this advantage. But should it be something they feel guilty for? I love the bittersweet ending, and as a cynic, I can kind of imagine how their lives are gonna go. So I appreciated that it was left open-ended for me to fill it in with my own darkness. No, people, this is a really good book. I know a lot has been said about it. It's like a TV miniseries. Anyways, finally, I get a chance to talk about it. So thank you for listening. Once again, I am reading a book in every subgenre of every genre. If you have one you want to recommend, please do. And if you just want to come along on the journey, don't forget to subscribe. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.